Okay, I hate to break it to you, React has been cancelled. It really happened. Some guy just went out there and said, hey guys, take all the knowledge from React you've gotten over the past 10 years with useState, useEffect and all the hooks you know and put them into the trash can. Well, at least that's what this article right here states. It has surfaced on Reddit and it's gotten a bunch of controversy because the claim it makes is pretty outrageous. Those useState, useEffect and other hooks we're used to are client stuff. We must get rid of that way of thinking completely to build a Next.js application. Of course, it got people wondering, why shouldn't I use useState or useEffect in Next.js now? Is it like forbidden? Can we not do it anymore? Well, that's what the article kind of suggests, at least, but it's two parts. The first one is that hooks like useState and useEffect are client-side. And there's nothing debatable there. That's just how React works. But the interesting part is the second one. We must get rid of this way of thinking, referring to useState and useEffect and all the client-side stuff to build Next.js 13 applications. And here's my take as someone who's worked with Next.js 13 since the day it came out daily. And to be fair, this article kind of has a point. The first negative of the client-side architecture that's not there in Next.js 13 is that all code on the client has to be downloaded eventually. Now you can code split, but other than that, all code has to be downloaded eventually. And as your app grows, so does the code that needs to be downloaded on the client. And that's not ideal, especially on slow devices like mobile phones, which a lot of people use to browse your website. And it gets even worse when you factor in that all the compute responsibility is now on the client device, which might be really good. It might be some NASA PC with 10 CPU cores that is insanely fast at everything, but just as well, it could be some random dude with his old Nokia 2005 mobile phone trying to run your advanced animations and it just sucks. Where your code runs, whether it's a good device or bad one, is extremely unpredictable. You don't know, and mostly it's probably not gonna be the good devices. And here's where the solution of the article comes in. Take the client side, throw it into the trash and move to the server. And the server, meaning React server components, what I assume this article means, do one big thing for you. And that is the fetches for your data happen on the server and not on the client. That means they happen closer to the data source and you can control where exactly they happen. Not only that, but all the dependencies that you import from npm packages are resolved purely on the server. They never meet the client, they're only on the server, they're not being shipped to the client, thereby reducing the JavaScript bundle size of the client. The bottom line is your website is going to be faster. You send less stuff over for the 2005 Nokia phone to handle, because only the HTML, the output of your React server components, is sent over, and that's it. And that sounds pretty good, actually. So is the article right? Take all the client-side stuff we know from React, throw it in the trash and only do server-side stuff in Next.js 13. The thing is, the server or React server components have their very own downsides. I've spoken about that a ton on this channel, namely caching. It's absolutely horrible, and while the Vercel team is working on that, it's still a big issue. And you know what the solution to that horrible problem purely on the server is? Well, it's moving to the client. I've done just that in the SaaS I'm building, and honestly, I'm super happy with going back from the server components to the client components. There are even some cases that server components can't handle. Imagine you're polling your server for some data, right? You send a request every 2 seconds to get some data for a real-time dashboard, for example. How are you gonna do that with server components where it can only render interaction-less stuff? Another big one, loading states. Yes, you can do them server-side. There are some loading.tsx files that are an abstraction to React Suspense, so it makes it pretty easy for you to handle loading states with server components. But you know what's way more fun and way more enjoyable to handle loading states in? Goddamn right, it's client components. And not only can you not use server components for those cases, but also sometimes you need interactivity, and there is no way literally around using things like useEffect and useState, and trying to do that on the server literally won't work. It suggests there's something inherently wrong with the old way of writing React, which was purely client-side, and to be frank, that's just not the case. It's a different paradigm we're getting used to, and server components can be useful for fetching just simple data, passing it in to the client components. But beyond that, I prefer client components. And that's not even mentioning that some super good libraries like React Query or TRPC that give you type safety across front and back end, which is insanely useful and saves you so much time, are meant for client-side use. So if you just took this advice from the article, moved everything to the server, you'd give yourself a pretty hard time, man. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear that. I really enjoy, for my part, going back from server components to client components and only relying on server components for some very simple data fetching logic. Let me know in the comments down below. That's it from me for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one and bye bye.